My brother got out of prison after 10 years, and everyone expects me to forgive him. The doorbell rang at 7 in the evening, and when I opened it, my brother stood there with a duffel bag and a half smile, as if he had just returned from a long vacation instead of a decade behind bars. My mother pushed past me to embrace him, sobbing into his shoulder, and my father clapped him on the back like the prodigal son had returned, but all I could see was the living room from 10 years ago, the shattered glass, the overturned furniture, and my own blood on the carpet from where he had put me in the hospital. He had been high, paranoid, convinced I had stolen money from him that never existed, and he beat me so badly I needed 3 surgeries to fix my jaw. Now he was standing in my doorway, my parents beaming through tears, and they expected me to open not just my door but my heart, to forgive and forget because blood was supposedly thicker than the scars he left on my face. I let him in because I didn't know what else to do, and the first hour was a surreal performance of normalcy, my mother cooking his favorite meal, my father asking about his plans, and me sitting in the corner like a ghost haunting my own life. He had found religion in prison, or so he said, his voice softer now, his eyes clear, but every time he laughed, I flinched, my body remembering what my mind was trying desperately to suppress. The days turned into weeks, and he was sleeping in my guest room because apparently my apartment was the only place big enough, another decision made without my consent.
I watched him carefully, waiting for the mask to slip, but he was patient and kind, helping with dishes, talking about his therapy sessions, and slowly my parents' narrative of redemption started to feel almost believable. One night, I came home late from work to find him sitting in the dark, holding a small box, and I braced myself for the relapse, the confrontation, the inevitable return of the monster I remembered. Instead, he handed me the box and told me to open it, his voice trembling. And inside was a letter from the man who had actually robbed him that night, a former friend who had confessed on his own deathbed 3 years ago. The letter detailed how he had stolen the money, framed my brother, and triggered the paranoid breakdown that led to the attack, meaning my brother hadn't just been violent without cause, but had been manipulated into a psychotic episode by someone he trusted. I looked at my brother, really looked at him for the first time in a decade, and saw not a monster, but a broken man who had spent 10 years in a cage for a crime of violence, while the man who drove him to it walked free until his death. He didn't ask for my forgiveness that night. He just said he wanted me to know the full truth before he left in the morning to start a new life in another state where he wouldn't be a burden to anyone. I told him to stay, not because I had forgiven him, but because I realized the man I had been hating all these years was a fiction, a phantom created by someone else's greed. And the real brother sitting in my dark living room was just as much a victim as I was. Forgiveness wasn't a switch that flipped. It was a slow, painful process. But that night, it started. A tiny crack of light in a wall I had built over a decade. And I knew I would never be the same.